Hello? Oh, I'm sorry, babe. This is the first time I've been out of the apartment in weeks. I game now. I don't have time to see you. Sorry. Yeah, no, I just don't have time. I'm a serious game reviewer now. I take all the time in the world to play these games. What? Yeah, I'm not at my apartment. No. Will it ever turn green? Oh, it's green.
Yes. No, you can't come in. Yes. Got it. Yes.
Hello, I'm just another reviewer, and I'm here with the games video of Uncharted, just in case you want to play some after seeing the movie or beforehand to get an idea what the movie's going to be about, or if you enjoyed some of the characters and elements of the movie and want to play some of the games that are like much better, more cinematic. In fact, they're like 4 great little action movies in and of themselves that honestly all of them are probably better than the movie, low-key. So I'll be ranking for you real fast the first 4 Uncharted games. There's another game called Lost Legacy starring Chloe Frazer from the movie that I've just started playing, so it's not going to make it into this review, but that's a fun game too, so that's an honorable mention. If you get a chance to play that game, that's a direction the series should go in next, with how it has a semi-open world and you get to look for treasures, and it feels a lot more like treasure hunting, more open-ended. I think that's the direction they should go with the next Uncharted game if they make another one. But yeah, so that's an honorable mention. And all these games are like really good. Like they're pretty, great to amazing with, the #1 pick. So you're not going to go wrong with any of these. And I'd recommend getting the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection because it comes with all 3 of the games and you don't have to hunt down an old PS3. It's, a lot of game for a small amount of price. A small price, yeah. Small price. So for my number 4, the last in this first 4 series, it's actually the first game because it's a great game, it's a good game. It just has aged a little poorly because of the mechanics and stuff. It was revolutionary at the time. Like the thing about Uncharted is it like pushed games in a very cinematic direction. It was like very innovative in how they filmed it. Like they filmed people acting out the whole scenes and stuff in mocap. So it was like its own little movie. But that being said, tech has like advanced so much, and the mechanics of the other games and how good they became, that just leaves the first one in the dust. The first one has the most straightforward story, so it's like the simplest story, the most Indiana Jones-esque story. On that front, the other games really expand on that and make more cinematic and complex stories with the sequels. But the first game is very fun to start out with, and I saw somewhere where someone was like, you should maybe skip the first game just because of how it's aged, and I disagree because you get good feel for the main 3 characters, Sully, Elena, and Nathan Drake, of course. And the characterizations of these characters is what makes the game. But yeah, the shooting is fun. You'll get used to what shooting is like in the games. I feel like anything that's not a pistol or an AK feels like a special weapon, because at least when I was younger, I always felt like they were power-ups because you only have so much ammo of it. But on replay, I guess there is enough ammo so you can continuously play with that style. Yeah, it introduced it a lot of the groundwork, which is why it's number 4. And the villains are a mixed bag. There's like a very forgettable one, which they hinted at the end of Uncharted the movie. There's his right-hand man, which is kind of better. And they have a little twist with him, which is kind of good, but still he's kind of flat. Even though there's like little characterization like moments and little hints at like people's background stuff that makes them unique, they still come off like bland and such, especially the main one. But then there's this one side like guy named Eddie Raja, and he's a fan favorite because he has a great personality with Nate. He's very animated and he's very memorable for that, and he's probably the most memorable villain in the game despite being like the lowest one. But yeah, there's a lot of the games would end up having a lot of cinematic moments, which I'll talk about as well, but they were just laying the groundwork. There's like a Jeep chase and like jet ski segments, but there's no like huge set piece. It's a good starter. It's a good game to start with, but that's why it's number 4, because everything else just built on top of it, made it more cinematic complex, and it runs better and it's fun and stuff. So Uncharted Drake's Fortune, number 4. Dang, I already need water. Wow. Why? Okay, number 3 is Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. The problem with this game is, alright, let's get with the good first. Following 2, Among Thieves, they really wanted to go in a super cinematic direction. Like the opening feels like the opening of a like 007 film. It's very like shot like that, and it's very cinematic in nature. Like they're really trying to push a movie into this. Something I really like, it's a small thing, but I like it, is that you can throw grenades back at people. It was something I thought was in every game ever since I played that game a long time ago, but apparently it's just this one, and I enjoyed that. And there's also some like climbing shooting sections I forgot about, which was interesting. Changed it up from the games and innovated it, but I can't get over it. Alright, the problem with this game is the story is trying to be so complex, it's so ambitious that it becomes like, if you're playing this, you'll notice it feels a little flat even though they're trying to be big and stuff. Like the villains are supposed to be this big, you're connected to them. I think one was Marlowe, one Talbot that I completely forgot about, but then ended up stealing the show because he's so mysterious. But the reason he's mysterious is because they like cut bits of his story out last minute, I'm pretty sure I read, because there's a lot left on the cutting room floor, it feels like. The treasure isn't as thought out, or it's like supposed to be this super ambitious treasure they're finally years revving up to go after, but it just falls flat. They add so much complexity and convolutedness to it. Like this treasure itself has like so many names. It's hard to remember even what the treasure's called, and you can call it different things. They try to copy 2 with looking for a lost city type thing. And then the biggest problem for me is that people are constantly shooting at you and shooting at you good. And this game constantly throws people at you, and it gets really annoying. It makes the story slower and stuff. But it has some of the best set pieces and best puzzles. Yeah, I will give 3 that. It has the best puzzles. I feel like you have to really kind of think about some of them, and there's kind of a variety to it. And then they have some of the best set pieces, which I mentioned in my review. The legendary cargo plane scene falling out, and it feels like a one-shot. It was so cinematic. Like I forgot how good that scene was. Before playing, I was like, it was alright, I guess, but then playing it again, it just blew me away. And then there's also a sinking ship. That was pretty cinematic and great, as it's almost like Nathan Drake on the Titanic. But yeah, it feels the most convoluted. It feels like they're just trying to get you to places to do action and set pieces instead of telling a really good story, even though they're trying to flesh out the backstory of Sully and Drake, the relationship there. And I feel like, again, it falls flat. Like they're ambitious, but it's just shallow. So that's why it's number 3. Alright, number 2. So for the top 2, before this I could easily choose which one, but literally the top 2 games are like interchangeable on what mood you're in of what's the best game, because it's so hard. They're both solid at what they do, and they're like almost masterpieces, both of them. Number 2, I'll have to go with Uncharted 2. Among Thieves. It really innovated from the first game. Drake's Fortune really like set the groundwork for this adventure series, but then Uncharted 2 took it to new heights, introducing this whole world of like a thieves. It goes for a more complex story, and it actually like follows through with it. There's just, you know, more complexity, more characters. They have the best villains, I think, with Harry Flynn and Zoran Lazarevic. He's scary. He's like Bane. He's basically this like scary force that's full of theatrics. He's like, I'm gonna kill your friend, or I'm gonna kill him. Which one? Choose. I'm gonna kill them. Yeah. It has some of the best villains. Again, it's tied with the number one, so I like the villains are interchangeable. In what mood do you think is the best? Low key, I think the best villain's in number 4. It like innovates so much. Like it literally opens with you in this suspenseful set piece of like hanging from a dangling train, and it's like the cover of the game and stuff. It's like iconic. I like the more Tibetan locations and stuff. It's more set in the mountains, snowy mountains. If you like that, if you're basing your games off of where you get to vacation to, then Uncharted 2's in the mountains. The first one's on an island, and 3's in the desert / all sorts of places, honestly, like shipyards, all sorts of stuff. But 2, it's so good. It gave more weapons, it gave more things you can do. It gave a little bit of stealth. Like first game had stealth, but it was barely a thing. It was like not a thing at all. But it really innovated with the mechanics, how it all works, and the story is really good. I'd recommend 2 if you can only play one Uncharted game, because it's just so iconic. There's a whole train set of levels that is so good because it's constantly running and you're like on the train shooting around trying not to get hit by debris. It has the most consistent action and flow, I believe, because you're just flowing from location to location. It makes sense. It goes along with the story. Again, 2's the best if you just want to dabble into these type of games and stuff, because you'll get the most bang for your buck. This is also the game that introduced Chloe Frazer, if you remember, you know, from the movie, and she's a very good addition. She feels very inspired by Lara Croft. She just comes off that way. And yeah, there's just so much to talk about with that game without getting into spoilers and stuff. Or I'm trying not to get into spoilers, so I just recommend it. Go play it. Like, that's the one to play, honestly. But number 1 has to be Uncharted 4. Like, Uncharted 4 is the most satisfying culmination of the whole series. Like, it all came to this. They really end this series well with this game. Uncharted 4, Thieves End. There's so much to talk about. It's so cinematic. There's so many cinematic bits. It flows well. Everything just... the graphics are beautiful. It's the most beautiful Uncharted game just because of the next-gen PS4 era graphics. It's just phenomenal. You like go to Scotland, the frozen, snowy bits of Scotland. You go to Africa, driving around in a Jeep. They introduced open-ended areas where you can just like drive around, you know, be like, huh, there's a well over there. I wonder what's down it, and find treasure and stuff. They added an openness to the gameplay. Also, it's the most fluid of the games, just not just because it's on a newer console. They added the grappling hook, which makes it so smooth to like fling around. It feels the most Indiana Jones-esque like item in the whole series, because you're like throwing a rope and then going across the pit and then punching guys and stuff and getting the drop on them. It has the best stealth in the series too, because you can like combine wrapping around like Spider-Man and coming down on people and hiding in the bushes and stuff. You can go in stealthy. I didn't even know this, you can like avoid whole areas by just like sneaking around, and they even have like little dialogue like, huh, we made it past those guys. Wow, it usually goes south. Stuff like that. It has the best story. It's the most emotional story. Like, you know, it's really getting at the character of Nathan Drake and what it means for him to like attempt to give up the life of treasure hunting, but then getting reeled back in, and his wife being concerned about that. It's most emotionally complex. Like there's this whole great level where they're like reconciling. They're on this little adventure trying to get up to a certain part of the island. Naughty Dog's so good at making little emotional moments, and it's all from gameplay. It's not from cutscenes and stuff. The thing about video games, you have to actually play them through, especially with these cinematic games, because there's stuff always happening. That's the great thing about the Uncharted games. There's constantly characterization coming through on people talking to each other, little quips here and there. It's very funny. They're very funny and entertaining games, but they also have a heart to them. And Uncharted 4 encapsulates that. I constantly argue with if it has the best set pieces along with Uncharted 3, and then constantly like the best villains, because Rafe is he's like Nathan Drake if he didn't go out and do this stuff but still wanted the glory. And he would have been played great by Jake Gyllenhaal, which if they ever adapt him into the movies, it'll be Jake Gyllenhaal and Tom Holland all over again, Mysterious versus Spider-Man. Rafe is just, he was so conniving yet charismatic, but there's there's like this edge to him, like he can just go crazy, have people killed in Eddie's moment. He's like the perfect villain. And then Nadine Ross shows up, and she's a good physical force. Like, you fight her twice, once by yourself and then once with your brother Sam, which, oh shoot, I'll have to get into that. Yeah, Nadine was a good physical force compared to Rafe's like mind games. She ended up becoming a protagonist in the follow-up game Lost Legacy with Chloe Frazier, which was nice. Yeah, they introduced Sam Drake, and it's of course one of those things where a movie series, they're like, yeah, he always had a brother, which is kind of weird. You know, why wouldn't he have mentioned it? But they cover it up really well with him being like, I thought he was dead. The voice actors do great performances, and they were the ones in mocap and stuff. So Troy Baker's great as Sam, Nolan North amazing as Nathan Drake. They just really sell the complex bond between each other. Uncharted 4 is the game. I'd recommend playing the other games to lead up to it, because it'll be much more meaningful, more impactful and such, since it's like an end to the series for now, or at least the main like Nathan Drake games. So I recommend playing the other games first, but you can enter this game as a self-contained game and it still works. It just won't be as much of an emotional punch, and you won't be like, oh, I love these characters so much, I hate to see them go. But yeah, Uncharted 4 is a beautiful game. It really shows how cinematic video games can get, and almost movie-like. They might be able, you know, to show like this in a movie theater itself. Like, it's just crazy how cinematic and deep the stories get. And Uncharted 4 is the best story for sure. And definitely the game you should work up to after seeing the Uncharted movie. And yeah, that's a great thing about each of these games. They're self-contained. It's a very comfort food type game series where you just like, after a long day of work, you just sit down and play a few chapters and enjoy the story and the adventure and the set pieces and puzzles and all that these games have to offer. But then also, if you follow along, it's like other serialized Indiana Jones like series where some of the characters carry on into a sequel, and you have those characters develop more. For instance, the Elena Fisher and Nathan Drake relationship throughout the whole game series is like constantly building and building until it comes to a head in Thieves End. Definitely recommend it as a series, but if you just play a single one, I'd recommend 2. And if you play through the games, you have to work up to 4, because 4 is the best one. It's just worth the journey, and it's so good to go through. It's peak cinematic video games. So that's my ranking. Uncharted 1 is last, Drake's Fortune. Uncharted 3 is third, Drake's Deception. Uncharted 2 is in second place as well, Among Thieves. And Uncharted 4, Thieves End, is number 1. Also, if you haven't picked up, every odd number Uncharted game should have Drake in the title, and every even number Uncharted game should have Thief in the title. Also, the quality is usually better with Thief in the title for some reason, because 2 and 4 are like the best games. So yeah, theorizing off that formula, we have the next Uncharted game, Uncharted 5. It would be Drake's something, and then it'll be a little not as good as 4, but then the next game will be the best game probably. So there you go. That's my predictions if they continue this series at all. But yeah, I'm just another reviewer. Play these games if you are interested after seeing the movie or before the movie to get a grip on what this whole series is about, and I recommend it. It's like its own cinematic thing. If you like these type of adventure type stories, you should play the games. They're so good. They have a lot to offer, and they're fun end of the day type activities to play around with and go through. So yeah, I'm just another reviewer, and holy crap, the Batman comes out this week.